like, so after you finish your 30 days, I know you were on a very specific diet to make
Yeah,
sure you got back to the right amount of food
yeah,
and you had the right kind of food afterwards. So if you think about it this way, like the mentality, first you have to do the 30 days. And then you can't just have pizza the next day or whatever you want, you like, it
yeah.
still continues beyond that process. So how long did it take for you to be able to eat anything again?
Uh, so when I was a kid, and even now, if I am fasting, my parents have given me like a rule of thumb, and essentially, it's how many ever days of fast you do. If it's a big period of fast, you should approximately take that many days to slowly get back into eating like heavy food like bread. So if I've fasted for 30 days, according to them, I should be taking it easy for 30 days before I start eating like bread, cheese, and spicy food. Sorry.
Yeah, no, of course.
One thing I did find is the 30-day fast didn't feel as difficult once I knew I could eat, but actually physically couldn't eat or was not allowed to eat because I knew it would be bad for my body. That I felt was more testing than the actual 30 days, which
Damn.
is really weird
Yeah.
because if you think you've not eaten for 30 days, you're just like, okay. And then mentally by that point in time that actually you're not going to be eating. So it's fine. You've forgotten by that point in time. You've got loads more hours in the day to do different things. And now all of a sudden you're like, okay, I can eat. But when you sit down at lunchtime, I couldn't actually eat. The only things I was allowed was like liquid diet, light liquids, nothing too heavy. So I wouldn't be allowed like citrusy things. I wouldn't be allowed salty things or spicy things. And after the 30 days, I found that I'd actually lost my spice tolerance. So normal things that like black pepper, for example, that people can add onto like a normal salad, I would find that super spicy. I wouldn't be able to eat that straight away. I'd have
Damn.
to like have water nonstop if I had like pieces of black pepper or something along those lines. I had to
That's crazy,
redevelop.
right?
Yeah, it was
Especially because
mad.
you're Indian too, so spice is like a part of a staple in our food.
Exactly. All my food was being made separately. Again, my parents live in India. I live in London, and I only had a set amount of holidays. So I was only in India for about 5 to 7 days before I had to head back to London. Being careful about my whole diet thing.
Yeah,
It was a bit more tricky when I'm living on my own because I can't make some of the things my mum makes.
of course, of course.
Basically Indian food that's light for you. I wouldn't
Yeah,
even thought, like if I'm living here, I'd make pastas and pizzas and lasagna and whatnot. But out there, my mum would make things like arad nupani.
yeah.
Like I don't even know the English equivalent of that.
Yeah,
So it's like no chance.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so that was the tricky part. But I say in total, it took me about 10 to 12 days before I started eating normal food again. And I couldn't eat large quantities, but I would eat a lot throughout the day. So I couldn't sit down for lunch and just eat a meal, but I'd wake up in the morning and maybe have like 2 glasses of some sort of juice or something. And then come an hour later, I'd be having like 3 glasses of something else. 2 hours later, I'd be having like 5 glasses of something else, and then back to 2 glasses. It was really varied, but it wasn't like a consistent thing. It just kept going on throughout the day. And I used to eat at least like 10 times a day, but small quantities each time
Yeah,
because I couldn't fit any more in my stomach. But I used to
yeah,
get very hungry very quickly,
yeah,
suddenly. Um,
yeah.
and I didn't actually put on any weight for 2 months, which I found kind of weird. And I was kind of speaking to my parents about it and said, do you think I should go see a doctor?
Yeah.
Because I have now started eating normal food, 2 months into it, obviously. And I still wasn't putting on any weight. I was still
This is
14
two
kilos
months.
under.
This is two
Yeah,
months after the
this is
fast.
2 months after the fast, having done like the 10, 12 days of the liquid diet and then
Yeah.
starting to introduce normal food. Again, yes, I was eating small quantities, but I was eating
You're
a
still
lot throughout
eating.
the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I wasn't putting on any weight. And I got concerned about it because I
Of
was just
course.
like, this is a bit eating. And it wasn't like I was actively actively going to the gym or exercising or something along those lines where I'm like maintaining my body weight or something. I was just eating, sleeping, and working. There was no like real extracurricular activity. Eventually, I started putting it on, and then it weirdly hits you like all of a sudden, 4 months into it, I'd already put on like 3 kilos. So 2 months you don't have anything, and then suddenly you start putting on weight like crazy, and you're like, oh no, now I need to start exercising and kind of maintain it. And it's your body goes through this whole change, and you have to try and keep track of it and then get ahead of it at the same time. Because you don't know how it's going to affect your body after not eating for 30 days. So you kind of just have to monitor and be careful about everything you're doing, which I was.
Yeah.
And then I guess that way I managed to do it. Weirdly enough, though, I did have a cheat meal, not going to lie. Like 5 or 6 days into having the whole liquid diet, I kind of ran out of liquids, and I was out at a wedding in Thailand, and I had no choice.
I think I was in the same wedding with you.
Yeah, you were at the wedding. There was special food being made for me.
I remember.
The whole wedding.
Yeah.
But the last day, I ran out of all my special food that I'd carried across, and I was super hungry. And while one of the functions was going on and no one was watching, I went to the back and like ate dim sums and pasta and sushi. No one really knows about that one, but it was something that I needed to do.
And now they do.
Now they do.
No, but that's so. It's just crazy, right? Like people, like even myself, when I heard about your 30-day fast, I was obviously it wasn't a 30-day, like you said, it was 8 days, and then you just kept not eating, and then on the WhatsApp group, people like, yeah, I'm 17 days in, or I'm 20 days in. Like you'd give us all countdowns, and then it was an incredible time actually for all of us to be a part of that moment with you. But after your 30 days, no one, I'm sure, not many people started asking how you were. Like in the first 30 days, everyone's asking how you are. But a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, 4 months later, when the effect is still with you of that 30 days, like, so your actual penance was actually 5, 6, 7 months instead of actually just being 30 days. And I think that's very important because we've seen stories in newspapers and stuff where some people have done fasting and then they've had an orange, for example, to break their fast, and unfortunately because of that mistake, people have lost their life. And I think it's like you said, if you are gonna do such a task, if you are gonna do something quite extensive and quite extreme, for the respect of your religion and your culture, you have to take those precautions after the fast as well, right? And before, to make sure that, as you said, no one sees badly of what you're doing and it's not affecting anybody too.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that obviously meeting the 30-day fast, I hadn't prepared my body to fast for 30 days, which in hindsight, a lot of people say that if you know you're going to do something like this, you should prepare your body. I hadn't. That was a mistake on my part. Luckily, it hasn't affected me, or grace, it hasn't affected me. But what I didn't know is if I am doing such a large number of days of fast, like 30 days, I have to be careful after. Thanks to my parents who kind of drilled it into me that I had to be careful, I was careful to a certain point. Yes, I didn't do 30 days on a liquid diet or something along those lines, but I was still careful in terms of I did 7 days on a liquid diet. Yeah, I had a cheat day in between, but it wasn't immediately. I waited at least 6 days before I had a cheat day. And then even after that, I was still careful where I knew that actually it's probably not a good idea for me to eat bread straight away. So why not try and delay that another week or two before I introduce that in my life? Probably not the best idea to eat pizza, so I'll delay it. I might not want to wait a whole month, but let's delay at least 2.5 weeks. Give your body a chance to kind of get back into routine as such, because you're used to eating daily and you've not. And then you've gone on a liquid diet, so your body's still trying to digest that before it starts digesting solid food. So I was careful in terms of that. Things I would have liked to have known before I did the 30-day fast is actually it's really difficult to try after your fast and control your diet. I struggled with that. And if I'd known that before, I don't know. I love food so much
Yeah.
that I could even say that I would have been like, no, I don't want to do the 30-day fast because I won't be able to control myself
Yeah.
after the 30 days.